Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm your host, Jeffrey, and subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. We just passed 880, 890, and 900 subscribers. I appreciate your guys' support so much, and I hope I can continue to make great content you guys will enjoy in the future. Now, for the Georgia Bulldogs, their football program just landed a massive commitment today. The best commitment available in the 2024 recruiting class, Dylan Raiola, has committed to the Georgia Bulldogs, the top quarterback in the 2024 class, the top overall prospect. I'm going to go over what I think his commitment means for Georgia and whether I think he could be a guy that starts in his freshman year for the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, Georgia is a program that has been steadily climbing the ladder in college football. They've passed programs like Nebraska, Texas, USC, and then they started to climb programs in the SEC like LSU and Texas A&M and other programs like that, but they have finally surmounted Alabama as the standard of college football at this very moment. I still feel like Alabama is the standard for the past 2 decades, and they could still be potentially considered the top program for sure because of what Nick Saban's done over his career at Alabama. But Georgia, as of this time, they are the top team in college football. The top dogs don't seem to be slowing down, and getting a commit like Dylan Raiola is huge because he's the top quarterback in the 2024 class and the #1 prospect in the country, and he had offers from USC and Nebraska, Alabama, and so many other blue blood programs, and Dylan Raiola decided to commit to Georgia. And he actually was committed to Ohio State back in 2022, but he decommitted from Ryan Day and the Buckeyes. That was a tough loss for them, but Ohio State is another quarterback already committed to them in their recruiting class, so they are fine. But for Georgia, landing Dylan Raiola is huge because of the fact it is just continuing to show that Georgia is on the rise and they're not going anywhere. They are here to stay. And Kirby Smart, what a job he has done building up the Georgia program. They've won 2 national championships now, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. Now, Dylan Raiola as a prospect is big because Georgia does not usually recruit top quarterbacks. Yes, they had Jacob Eason. He was fairly highly touted, but Stetson Bennett was not. Jake Fromm was not as highly touted as some other quarterbacks that Georgia has had. But the Georgia Bulldogs are definitely not a quarterback factory. But getting a guy like Dylan Raiola could change that because he is a guy that should be an NFL draft prospect for sure as long as he comes into Georgia and plays at a high level. And Georgia's offensive line is tailor-made for any type of quarterback. Even a guy like Stetson Bennett, who was undersized at 5'10", as a walk-on, and he was able to have a lot of success behind that great offensive line. Dylan Raiola, he's 6'3", 220 pounds. He has prototypical quarterback size, about the same size as C.J. Stroud. You see where he got picked in the 2023 NFL draft at #2 to the Houston Texans. So you can tell that is the perfect size for a quarterback, and he'll have a lot of success behind that great Georgia offensive line. Georgia has a great team all around. Their defense is great. Their wide receiving room is great. The running backs room is great. Everything about Georgia's team is great right now. There are some weaknesses like every other team, but Georgia is an unstoppable force right now, and Alabama's going to have a tough time to deal with Georgia with Dylan Raiola at quarterback in the future because he has a quarterback with a lot of upside. I know some people talk about that he doesn't run the football much, but again, I think that is where Georgia's offensive line really helps because Dylan Raiola is not a dual-threat quarterback. He is much more of a pro-style quarterback. He's trying to get better at being quicker, but he's not going to have to scramble that much at Georgia due to the fact that their offensive line is so great. But what else is important about Dylan Raiola? Because again, as I mentioned before, Georgia has not had great quarterbacks like Dylan Raiola commit to the Bulldogs. They've gotten great defensive players in the past, and Kirby Smart has been able to raise the talent level exponentially at the Bulldogs. But to land the #1 recruit in the 2024 class and the top quarterback to be able to go to Georgia is huge. Now, I do think another reason why Dylan Raiola decided to go to Georgia is the fact that their quarterback room isn't the best right now. Carson Beck, he's a redshirt junior, and he will more than likely be the starting quarterback for Georgia this season. And if he has a good season, then maybe he could be picked in the 2024 NFL draft. You also have Gunnar Stockton. He's a top 300 recruit, a redshirt freshman right now. He's a guy that could be the starting quarterback in the future. And you also have Brock Vandergriff as a redshirt sophomore. So 3 guys that are solid. It's not like the quarterback room is bad for Georgia. It's just the fact is that it's unproven and inexperienced. And if Carson Beck has a solid season this year, which he could have a great season behind the great Georgia offensive line, then Dylan Raiola could come in 2024 and start as a freshman. I don't know if he will. Kirby Smart probably doesn't want to start a freshman. You see a lot of coaches and teams do not want to start freshmen because you don't want to bring them in too early, then they're not ready, and then their confidence gets riled. Sometimes a quarterback can never recover. But I think Dylan Raiola is good enough to start as a freshman, and if he does, that would be huge for Georgia because it would show you that anybody can be a quarterback for Georgia if they put their mind to it, play at a high level, and they work really hard because Georgia is a team that sets you up for great success due to the fact that the team is so talented all around the quarterback that they're going to have. So I think that Dylan Raiola could start as a freshman. Now, if Carson Beck does not go in the 2024 NFL Draft, he probably will be the starting quarterback again as a redshirt senior. And Dylan Raiola will have to wait his turn, or maybe Gunnar Stockton could beat him out. But if Dylan Raiola is talented as he looks, and I think he definitely has the talent to start immediately, then he could be one of the only quarterbacks that Georgia has had that starts as a freshman. I think he could play at a high level. You look at his stats. As a junior, he threw for 2,435 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 5 picks. And as a sophomore, he threw for 3,341 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Those are great numbers. The picks are low. That's always a great sign. He throws a decent amount of touchdowns and a lot of yards, so the stats are there. I think another big reason why he is so highly rated, besides the fact that his size is 6'3", 220 pounds, which is the prototypical size for a quarterback, is that he is the son of former NFL offensive lineman Dylan Raiola. So he has the pedigree of a guy being in the NFL. Not the same position. His dad definitely was a much bigger body as an offensive lineman, but still has that NFL pedigree, which really helps. And it's also huge for Georgia because he's the second highest prospect to ever commit to the Bulldogs. All around, this is just a great look for Georgia. Whether Dylan Raiola even becomes a great quarterback or has a lot of success at Georgia, which I think he should, being behind a great offensive line and a great team around him, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, this is just a great look for the Georgia Bulldogs program to be able to say we can get the best quarterback in a recruiting class over Alabama, over USC, over Nebraska, over all these other great programs, and that is a big look for Kirby Smart, and it's just continuing to show that Georgia right now is the top dog in college football, and until anybody knocks them off that pedestal, Georgia will continue to be the best program in college football as of this time. Even though Alabama's been the standard for 2 decades, and I still think they are, Georgia is the standard right at this very moment. They're having a lot of success, and getting Dylan Raiola is just continuing that pipeline. And it's up in the ante at Georgia, showing that they're continuing to climb and being able to get high-level quarterbacks that they usually do not get. They have not been a team that has brought in a lot of great quarterbacks in the past, like USC or Texas, or some of these other programs, but Georgia's doing it now. They just got the top quarterback in the 2024 class, and even if Dylan Raiola doesn't start immediately for Georgia, I think he eventually will, and he'll have a lot of success at Georgia, and he could be a guy that goes to the NFL draft, more likely than not. But regardless, this is a great look for the Georgia Bulldogs program, whether he starts immediately or not, whether he actually becomes successful or not, because it's showing that Georgia can recruit and get anybody to commit to their program. Even guys that are #1 in a recruiting class, they're able to land. But Dylan Raiola is a big addition for the Georgia Bulldogs program, and I think he should definitely help out Georgia at that quarterback room, and maybe possibly have the most talented quarterback Georgia football has ever had. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about Dylan Raiola committing to the Georgia Bulldogs, and whether you think that this commitment is significant in helping Georgia continue to be the top dog in college football, and how good of a job you think Kirby Smart is doing still as the head coach of Georgia. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I will see you next time.